All right. Well, good morning and or good afternoon wherever you may be. Welcome to today's ServiceMax webinar, How to Heat Up Your Service Organization's Efficiency. My name is Nicole Sanders, and I'll be running the technical side of today's event. And we're pleased to have you all joining us today. We have a great session in store for you, and so we'll just go ahead and run through a few logistics before I turn it over to today's speakers. Right now you are all logged in to Hvac and should be seeing our opening slide. There's a green bar at the top of your screen. If you hover over that option, you can either chat with myself if you have any questions or problems. You can also submit a question throughout the presentation using the Q&A panel there. When you submit your question, please send it to the host and panelists, and we'll be answering those questions at the end of the speaker's presentations. We are recording today's presentation, and we'll be making that available on our website within the next 48 hours. So if you would like to see a replay of that, feel free to access that or share that information with a colleague. So a quick introduction of our speakers today. We're happy to have with us Brian Samsa. Brian is the owner of Samsa Mechanical Services in Appleton, Wisconsin. He's been a ServiceMax customer now for a couple of years, and we're really happy to have him joining us today to share a little bit about his story. And just a little more on Samsa Mechanical Services. They're a third-generation HVAC commercial services company. They've been servicing the Appleton, Wisconsin area since the 1970s. And then Melinda Ornberg, who is our product marketing manager here at ServiceMax, will also give a quick introduction prior to Brian's presentation. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Melinda to start the presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole, and thanks again, everyone, for joining us today for our 30-minute webinar. We're going to be starting out with a brief explanation of ServiceMax, our field service software for companies of all sizes, and then we'll hand it over to Brian from Samsa Medical Service to talk about how they use ServiceMax, and then we'll wrap it up with Q&A, and just a reminder that you can submit those questions at any time during the presentation. So at ServiceMax, our goal is to help our clients deliver flawless field service while maximizing their revenue and delighting your customers. This is just an example of a service delivery chain, and what this slide is describing is a service journey, all the way from a product purchase or a service issue to closing out that work order and analyzing your service reports afterwards. And this bottom portion shows how our end-to-end solution helps at every step of the service delivery chain. And again, companies of all sizes use this core field service functionality to track what their customers own and what service they're entitled to, and to efficiently schedule and dispatch their technicians. Our goal is to elevate field service, and we do this by leveraging mobile and cloud technology to increase things that your customers care about, like first-time, fixed-time rates, while helping you have real-time 360-degree visibility into your field service organization. And at ServiceMax, we think about mobile from the perspective of your field service organization and your technicians. So you need critical service information and customer data at your fingertips, no matter where you are and if you're offline. And we call this approach Field Ready Mobile, and ServiceMax is available on all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices. And finally, we understand your HVAC business. So here's just a sample of some of our HVAC companies and their logos below that we work with. And I want to hand it over to one of them in particular, and this is going to be Brian from Samsa Mechanical Service. So with that, Brian, I'll hand it over to you to tell your ServiceMax story.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. As was mentioned, I am a third-generation owner of this business. We're a very specialized HVAC company working mainly in the large commercial and industrial markets, typically schools, hospitals, large office buildings, factories, etc. Within that market, we key in on the service, preventative maintenance, building retrofit, system upgrade, and building automation areas. All of our technicians currently use iPads in the field, which is we found is a great tool to have at their fingertips beyond the uses with ServiceMax. A little background in how things operated before, or when I took over the business quite a few years ago. Prior to implementing ServiceMax, we used a standard paper work order system. For example, a call comes into the office manager writes up a work order gets handed off to a technician, job gets completed, work order gets filled out, handed back to the office staff. Now in our case, with the market we serve, we have jobs that can last a day or sometimes weeks. And sometimes we have one technician on site, other times it's multiple technicians on site. So when a work order is in a technician's hands, it becomes that person's responsibility to make sure it is getting filled out daily and that all materials are getting accounted for. If there were other technicians on the job site, obviously only having one paper work order out in their hands, it becomes that person's responsibility to make sure the other technician's time gets accounted for as well. For a job that was started and finished in a day or two, the errors and missed materials were minimal. For jobs that went beyond that, and in some cases multiple weeks, it could become a real mess, and we had no good way of verifying they were filling out the work order details daily without having them turned in every day and going through them. The bottom line, as most of you probably already know, technicians don't typically like paperwork and would procrastinate on filling out their work orders, which oftentimes resulted in them forgetting materials and missing billable hours. By the time these work orders would get back to the office manager, we would have to go through them with a fine-tooth comb in order to try and make sure that we caught any missed materials or missed billable hours. At that point, you know, if this job spanned weeks, it would become very difficult for us to remember that, and in many times would result in missed billing opportunities, whether that be hours or materials. Under this system, the technicians would also maintain a separate timesheet for payroll. They were required to document their time along with the work order their time was being billed to. As you can imagine, the time on their timesheets didn't always match up with the time on the work orders. The only way we could verify these times was to manually cross-check timesheets with work orders, which again was a very time-consuming process. Our company went briefly into a system where we used an electronic PDF form for work orders, and timesheets as well were an electronic PDF form, and that system, you know, wasn't much better, if not worse, than the old paperwork work order system. It was right about that time that we came across ServiceMax while also looking into other systems on the market. We were researching many other systems, and I was having a difficult time finding anything to match my needs. Most of the systems were pretty generic and offered very little flexibility to adjust or adapt them to meet our company's needs for service records. After setting up a meeting with ServiceMax and receiving a demonstration of how the system worked, we decided to sign on. With ServiceMax, we have been able to improve many aspects of our business. Let's talk about how work orders are now processed and managed within our company. Work orders are now created electronically and stored in the cloud. When a customer calls with a service issue, myself or the office staff creates a new work order in ServiceMax, including all the necessary information needed for the job. Next, technicians are dispatched to the site. When the technicians are done at that site for the day, they can look up the work order on iPads, and each technician can fill out the same work order for themselves. It is obviously tracked in ServiceMax, and systems show who entered what information. This has led to increased accountability for each technician. The office can now see the information in the cloud as soon as it is entered into the system. And by utilizing a created report in ServiceMax, employees are now paid directly based on the time that is billed to the customer. So now, in the rare event that something is missed, it is also missed on their paychecks. That has obviously led to things not being missed as much because it directly affects them. We also now have all of our customer, previous work, and equipment information stored in the cloud and easily accessible at the touch of a finger. When I have a customer inquiry about previous work performed or service history on a specific piece of equipment, it is easy to find, and reports can be created to easily provide that information to our customer. There is no more digging through filing cabinets, fumbling around with old paperwork. To be quite honest, we are now almost a completely paperless company, aside from invoices coming in and going out, which we then still maintain an electronic record of them and attach them to the ServiceMax work order. Now, if we ever need to look back at an old work order in the future, everything we need to know about it is right there with the work order. We have been able to increase technician productivity in many ways, but the one I like the most is that we were able to create a search function on the tech's iPads that allows them to go back and look at previous work history of a specific customer, job, or piece of equipment right on site from their iPads. This has eliminated the phone calls back to the office or to another technician trying to figure out what was done to a system previously, which oftentimes would have multiple people within the company distracted from their original tasks. They even have the ability to search work history of a specific model of equipment and see any work history on that model company-wide that has ever been entered into the system. This operation has helped improve the troubleshooting process of the equipment and help the technician get issues resolved in a timely manner. It also saves the customer money, and they see the technician come on site, resolve the issues quickly, and they are back up and running, which is always appreciated by them. From a customer standpoint, I think it is impressive for them to see our small company utilizing the iPads and all the other technology available to us to streamline the business process. We are probably the smallest company in our market, and in some cases competing with huge national companies, but yet our business processes are by far the most advanced. We have definitely realized an increase in business without increasing staff. Our technician and office productivity has definitely improved. We have been able to add a whole new product line and phase to our business with the building automation controls product line we brought on 2 years ago. Prior to that, we did absolutely nothing with building automation. But because of ServiceMax, the time I spend on all the other things I mentioned earlier has significantly decreased and allowed me to successfully implement this aspect of the business without any additional manpower. And as a result of that, revenues have obviously increased with this new product line and being more productive with my time. I know the implementation side of ServiceMax has changed a little bit since we signed on, but nonetheless, the transition was very smooth with virtually no issues. We initially went through a roughly 14-hour training session spread out over multiple weeks, 2 weeks I believe it was, which basically helped us transition all our information into the ServiceMax system. And you know, they taught us how to adjust things and tweak things to match what our needs were. From there, we went through and took those steps, created the processes we wanted, and tweaked them to meet the exact needs we wanted ServiceMax to perform for us. After that, we met with all the technicians, discussed the system, how it works, what was expected of them, and launched the system. Was there a small issue or two we ran into over the first couple of weeks? Sure. But anything that came up was very easily corrected. With the technicians utilizing the iPad, we can easily restrict what information they have access to and adjust the iPad app to make it as easy as possible for them to complete the tasks that are required. You can also make certain fields within the work order required and others optional. As I'm sure a lot of you know, some jobs require other information that other jobs don't. But the important stuff, you make those required, and the technician cannot complete their input without filling those fields. Some of the best features of the system were the ability to track work orders, work details, jobs in progress, etc., with the reporting functions. The ability to see the information live as it is entered in the field, and how easily the system was to adjust and customize to meet the exact needs of our business, as well as the ability, because it is cloud-based, to be able to log into the system from anywhere on any device and access the information we need or I need to update myself on specific job situations. As I touched on before, it has freed up my time to focus on other areas of the business, and it has also helped make it a lot easier to step away for a week, take a vacation, yet be able to log into the system and be involved with what's going on when needed. There are a few things that really stand out to me and put ServiceMax above and beyond the rest. The first is the fixed costs. You know, your annual charges are what they are. There's never any upgrade costs and never any technical support costs. I know with some of the other softwares we were looking at, there was, you know, always the possibility for it to cost more. It's nice knowing that this is what it is and that's all it's going to cost you for the year. The second would be the technical support. Anytime I had any issues with ServiceMax, I would file a technical support ticket, and they would respond very fast. They were very good at helping me through any of the issues, as well as teaching me anything I might need to know in order to achieve what I was trying to achieve within the system. And finally, the customization. I can't tell you enough how easy the system is to customize and how important that has been to my business. Anytime we need to change something or track other information, it is very easy to do and have it up live and running in literally minutes. If there ever was a time where I had an issue with it, with making a change or getting it to work, technical support was always right there to help me. And again, they're very quick. And you know, in the early phases of this, there was a couple times where we connected. You know, I'm not a computer guy, but connected to, you know, I connected to their screen and they'd walk me through step by step exactly what I need to do to achieve what I was trying to. So they've been really helpful with that. Thanks for taking the time to hear me, and I will now pass it back to Nicole.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brian. Great story, and I know you shared a lot of information there, and we already have some questions coming in. So we can just move to that. And just as a reminder to submit questions, you hover over that green bar at the top to the Q&A panel and submit to both host and panelists, please. And then I also wanted to mention that we have another ServiceMax person here that joined us in the room, Hvac. He's a product manager for our small and medium business segment, so he's worked with a number of our clients and will be able to address any questions that come up related to ServiceMax. So Brian, the first couple questions are for you. I'll just start here at the top. The question was, do you currently track the location of your HVAC units through the use of a QR code or like a RFID?
I do not, no. I guess by units, are they referring to like my technicians or?
Sorry, your HVAC units? And then it went on to say, if not, you know, how do you track your units for servicing or warranty?
Oh, well, I mean, there's stuff within ServiceMax when you sell a product. You know, again, we don't do, as mentioned earlier, we do a lot of the service, repair, retrofit. But when you sell a product, you can there's steps you can take within ServiceMax that track the warranty time of that product. So if the technician would go out to work on it or you'd get a call on it, you know when you bring up that account that product is under warranty. I believe, hopefully I answered the question if that's what they were after.
Yeah, okay, great. And then another question that came in for you was what % increase did you see in billable hours?
Well, I mean, from the time we joined ServiceMax to now, which is, you know, roughly 3 years, I mean, our business has been steadily increasing, you know, at a rate of, you know, 20-ish%. Some of that has to do with the new product line, but again, our manpower hasn't changed. So, you know, we've been able to do that. Obviously, ServiceMax plays a role in that. And in business, you're always going to have especially HVAC, you're always going to have ups and downs based on weather and stuff like that. But steadily, our business has increased. Have I really broke it down into every little section of what's causing it? No, but since we've joined up with ServiceMax, it has been a steady increase of roughly 20%.
Okay, great. That's pretty exciting. seems like a lot. Okay, another question was about how do you dispatch your technicians? And then go ahead, answer that first.
Well, we just dispatch them. Again, you know, we're a smaller company, so there's always constant kind of communication amongst us. There is the dispatching console on ServiceMax, which, you know, notifies them. I guess I don't know how many ways you can set it up. We had it set up so it notifies them via email. Typically, if it's an emergency call that comes in the, you know, middle of the day, I get on the phone and I call them just so I can discuss the situation with them a little bit.
Okay. All right. Next question is, it kind of has to do with connectivity for your technicians with the iPad. What do you install for Wi-Fi in your office to connect to your iPad, and do you use wireless iPads or some kind of hotspot on your vans?
Well, we actually use we buy the iPads that are connected through Verizon. That way, you know, again, it's a nice, just beyond ServiceMax, I've found it's nice, you know, and in my own experience out in the field, I mean, 15 years ago or so when I was doing this, I mean, we never had any way to access the internet, but there's a ton of information out there, and you know, anytime a technician needs to, you know, try to find something or find some information, it's nice to have that iPad, and they can do that. So we do that through Verizon, and then at our office we just have, you know, standard Wi-Fi.
Okay, good. All right, next question. Can work orders be generated in the field? For example, if a customer calls a technician directly and they set up their own work order, I'm not sure if that's your business case. We could also address that, but I thought, Brian, why don't you take that first?
Yes, they can be. There's multiple ways to do everything you want to achieve there. I mean, you can use a phone or an iPad to log directly onto ServiceMax through your web browser, and you can do anything you could do from a desktop. So there's many different ways to do it. There's there's other, and I'm not sure how much, you know, for example, I've used the Salesforce because this is off the Salesforce platform. I've used their, I think it's Salesforce One, and you can accomplish a lot of the things through that app, whether it be Android or iOS. So yes, there's multiple ways to achieve anything you need to.
Okay, great. And you kind of answered it on our behalf too, so thank you. All right, next question. Can documents or manuals be accessed by the tech through ServiceMax on their iPads? So again, this is something we can certainly address, but Brian, if you want to take that first, is that something your technicians do?
You know, we don't do a ton of it, but yes, there's a certain way that you upload that file. You upload that file into the system, and it's been a while since I've done it, so I can't exactly remember, but there's a certain way that you upload that file into the system and tag it so that they are able to retrieve it. Again, I don't do a ton of that, but you know what, we also keep everything on all of our business documentation on Google Drive, and you can easily share files and stuff through there. That tends to be more of what we do, so that, you know, we have a filing cabinet that has all their manuals and documentation in it, and any tech from anywhere can go in and grab a manual if he needs it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I'll add to that. This is Pei. So like Brian was saying, there are capabilities within our application that allow you to access product manuals or any other sort of manuals that you choose to make available. and that's available on our mobile app, and you can access it that way. Some of our other customers have used file sharing systems like Dropbox or other things when those capabilities are required. So there are, again, multiple options for you, both within our application as well as using some other apps.
Okay, perfect. And we just received another question related to this. Do you send photos or video from your techs back to the office, and how does that work? I don't know, Brian, is that something that your team does or needs to do?
Yeah, I mean, you can upload photos right to the right through ServiceMax. I think I actually do that through the that Salesforce One app. But yeah, we have, again, a lot of that information we tend to store in another application that houses all of our different random company information. So, but yes, I mean, we have shared pictures across the ServiceMax platform.
Yeah, so I'll add to that. Within our app, you can definitely upload both photos as well as video into our application, and so that capability is available.
Okay, great. All right, so we're coming to the close here, but Brian, there was another question for you about what elements of the reports do you customize? Are you able to customize? So maybe you can talk a little bit about the reporting.
Well, I mean, the key one we really use all the time is the payroll report. So, basically and I believe it's really endless what you can do, but, we basically, each technician, we bring up a report that's called so-and-so's payroll, and it's automatically set, so it goes back the previous 2 weeks or whatever it is that we need to see, and it automatically goes to each work order that they put in time for from that specific date range and tells us the time that they put in and what work order. It even, I believe, gives us a description of the work they did. That's the one we use a lot. I mean, as far as what you can do with it, and maybe one of you other guys want to jump in on this, but I mean, I think it's pretty endless as far as tracking work from a specific job, work order, month, specific type of equipment, service history, and so on.
Yeah, so again, I'll add to that. We deliver standard within the application about 50 reports and about 10 dashboards that most customers will take and modify to their needs, and the interface for the reporting engine is pretty powerful. It's basically drag and drop, adding data you want to see or taking it away. So as Brian suggested, it's pretty endless in terms of the possibilities of reporting. So that is available as part of the application.
Okay, thank you, Pei. All right, well, that comes to the conclusion of our webinar today. Thanks to all of you for joining. As I mentioned, we are recording today's event, so if you would like to listen to it again or share it with a colleague, please return to our resources section of our website as early as tomorrow afternoon or Monday, and you'll be able to access the information there. I also just wanted to mention we have a number of events that we have coming up in the coming months, one being our annual conference called Maximize that will be in San Francisco in May, and we welcome anybody who's a customer or actually considering ServiceMax to come to that event. It's going to be one of the biggest field service events of the year. So please visit our event section, take a look at the agenda there, and we hope to see you on a future ServiceMax webinar or at an event. Thanks again for your time today.
The leader has disconnected. The conference will be terminated in 5 minutes.